Hello everyone and welcome to the penultimate round here in Division 2 of Season 2 of URL. I know I'm not the familiar voice of either Tempo Tesla or James, your usual commentators. Both of them were not able to make it today, so I'll be stepping in for this round, and this will be a very big round because this man we're riding on board with, Jensen, can clinch the title today after he performed incredibly consistent over the last 9 races, picking up 4 P1 finishes and now sits comfortably at the top of the leaderboards, 51 points ahead of second place driver McLeod, who was just coming out of the pits behind his teammate, in front of his teammate actually, on the mediums. So yeah, Jensen, with just 2 rounds to go, just needs 1 point in this race to secure the title, with 1 round still to go after this one. So yeah, it's looking really good for him. Not much that can go wrong, of course, and he'll be hoping to take the title in style, of course. He's been by far the most consistent driver this season, as he will start his first flyer of this qualifying session. Let's go on board with a lap of our soon-to-be champion Jensen. So Jensen coming towards the end of his first lap as Possession puts in a 1:25.4. That's a really impressive banker time for him, as Jensen slots into P2, some 2.5 tenths behind the AlphaTauri driver. Reserve once again today, has proven he can drive a Formula 1 car very quickly on multiple occasions in this season. Of course, he won reserving for Red Bull in Silverstone with that very close race there. So yeah, he's on provisional pole at the moment. Pedrao went into second with Cinetic, another driver who to some of you might sound familiar, and he is in fact our Season 1 Division 1 champion, competing against Jensen for that Division 1 title last season. And after that he's taken a step back from league racing, but today he's back reserving. So let's see if he still got that pace he had last season to take what was a very impressive title in Division 1. So all drivers getting their first runs in at the moment, as Racing Nunia slots into second, half a tenth behind Possession, as Los Sols is entering the second sector a bit wayward. Coming out of Deckner 2, now into the hairpin. Los Sols abandons his lap and dives into the pits. So yeah, as I said, Jensen leads the championship by 51 points, and with his 4 wins he'll just need the 1 point today to secure the title. Because even if McLeod would win this race and pick up the fastest lap and would do so in the next race as well, and Jensen would only score 1 point, he would still take the title based on the fact he's got more wins this season. McLeod only got 1 victory this season so far in France, and if he would pick up victory in the next 2 races he would end up on 3 wins, with Jensen already having recorded 4 wins. So just the 1 point needed for Jensen and he will be able to call himself a Euro World Champion. As Pedervol, teammate of the guy we're expecting right now, Vikra, has joined as well and should be in his car in a couple of moments, as drivers are heading out for their second run of this qualifying session. Still 10 minutes on the clock, plenty of time for everyone to improve on their times, as I'm Brudias, a new driver for today. Is starting his first timed lap. Purple through sector 1, I don't know if that's accurate or not, but won't be a slow time for sure. As he negotiates his way through the hairpin, and now flat out onto the spoon curve. Of course, Suzuka, the only figure of 8 circuit on the racing calendar. Incredibly iconic track with such magnificent corner combinations. Of course, the S's in sector 1, then Degner 1 and Degner 2, fast flowing corners in sector 2, and of course spoon, and then in sector 3 you have 130R and the Casio triangle at the end of the lap. Challenging track, not many opportunities to overtake, so most likely will be a strategic battle to decide the winner today, as Brurias slots into 11th. Last of all drivers who have set a lap time so far. As Possession is almost a 10th up on his best first sector time, looking to even further improve on that 25.480. As we have Chabi ending his lap and diving into the pits. I think Possession will be the next car to cross the line. Lost a bit of time in the middle sector, but still 75 100ths up on his time. As he runs up towards the start finish line and improves to a 25.413. Jensen abandons his lap, and I think next to cross the line is, I was going to say Ricard, but he is into the pits as well. Will be Senetic, who is improving by over 4/10. Let's see what it can bring him. He jumps up to P4 between Pedrao and Bobo. It's McLeod on his first soft tire run, of course. First time he said was on the mediums, now with the soft tires jumps into P5. And his teammate Stan follows him to put both Red Bulls on the third row of the grid at the moment. And Racing Omnia actually goes P1 at 25.2. Impressive lap from the Mercedes driver, who finished on the podium for the first time this season, last time out at Canada. Of course, he also is a Euro champion, won the Division 5 championship in Season 1, made a step up to Division 2, and after some unlucky races he managed to record his first podium since Season 1 last week, and he's continuing to show some good pace here at Japan as well. As Pervol with his first lap of the session. See if he can get dialed in the next 6 minutes. Of course, it's always tricky to join mid-quali as you have less time to get into a rhythm here. And we know that Suzuka is all about rhythm, as almost every corner flows into another. Not much time to rest here, as it's really important to find momentum on this racetrack, as all drivers have nearly completed their second runs. So it's Racing Omnia at the top, followed by Possession and Pedrao, with Cinetic just a couple of hundreds behind the McLaren, then both Red Bulls P5 and P6, Bobo in P7, and our championship leader down in P8 at the moment, with Chabi starting his run now. And Chabi actually retired from the session on track. There we see him. It's coming out of Dagner 2, and he smashed into the wall, and that's his qualifying session over without even having set a lap. Not what he would have wanted for sure. As we will, I think we'll follow Chabi, as he looks to be the only man on the flyer right now. Coming to the end of the first sector. Currently sitting on a 126.1, improving by nearly 2 tenths through the first sector, 30.9. Ideally you'd be below that 31 second threshold, so a decent first sector for the McLaren driver. As Rossi is also on a lap, so we'll switch on to him once Chabi has completed his lap through Spoon, kept it within track limits. Now running up to the second sector split, let's see how much he's improving by, almost 4 tenths, and that would put him around P6, P7. Let's see if he can keep it together through the final sector. Snap of oversteer there, and he does improve his time, but not on his position. Stays 9th fastest, as Rossi is improving by almost 9 tenths. So he'll be shooting up the timing sheets. Nice camera angle here as he crosses the line, and only 9th fastest. Well, once again, final sector proving tricky for the drivers, as I think he was on for a P5, P6, but that last sector wasn't the best. And of course it is very close from P2 down to P10. It's only 3 tenths of a second, with the whole top 10 covered by less than half a second, so really close times here. As the drivers are on their outlaps right now. Bikra is not on a very fast lap, and he validates it. And Embrudas is another driver to retire. I think he retired on track in sector 1. Not the best of decisions to make, as Jensen is making his way to that sector 1 now. And there Renault is, let's see, ooh, oh, and that is really hurting Jensen's run through these S's. And that's not the best of decisions by Imbrudias. You can't just retire on track, because your AI will get in the way of other people. And Jensen just marginally slower compared to his previous best through that first sector. And he is continuing. And as we can see, the red fuel light flashing in the bottom right corner, so that means he's almost running out of fuel. So this is it, this is his last run, and there's another car on the apex, or the exit of Spoon I should say. Pervol gets out of the way, as Wickra is the third driver to retire. He does so in the pits, as Jensen is improving by 2/10, so that should put him towards the sharp end of the grid, but of course all other drivers will be improving as well. As Jensen runs up to the line, what's it gonna be? It's good enough for P2 at the moment. So despite him being held up through the S's, Jensen puts it on the front row for now. And we have Igel Bobo, who has invalidated his lap. Same for Pedrao and Cinetic. Stan is still on his outlap, so that would mean Los Sols is the first man to potentially put in a better time, as he is making his way through the Spoon curve right now, keeping it within track limits, as the drivers are now preparing for their final runs. So Jensen, we know, won't be improving anymore, as there's not much time left in the session, with Los Sols almost 4/10 up on his time. But there is a big gap from him to the next car in front of him. So let's see if he can nail this final sector. And he does, he goes into P9 ahead of Rossi and Sabi, who have already both retired. So and Possession takes P2 away from Jensen. And Racing Omnia spun. Our pole sitter at the moment has spun it at the end of sector 1, as Pervol won't be improving. Jensen won't be improving either. And Bobo is marginally up on his time. Let's see if he can improve on his P8. So, and he is invalidated through the last chicane. So only P8 for Bobo. And Stan is also backing up. I don't think anyone is still improving, as Pedrao is. And he does go into P3. Pedrao at the very last moment takes P3 away from Jensen, and will start alongside the Ferrari on the second row of the grid. So Racing Omnia, even with that spin on his final run, he will keep his pole position, and he will lead the field away into turn 1. It's his second pole position of the season. I can't remember off the top of my head at which circuit he got it before. Might have been Spa actually, I'm not sure. But Racing Omnia continuing his great form from Canada, and he will start from pole position in this Japanese Grand Prix here in Division 2. 25.292, just 3/100ths quicker than Possessin. So that's the end of this qualifying session in the penultimate round of the season. And while the championship might be wrapped up already, there's still a lot to play for, as drivers will want to finish off the season strong. So it's Racing Omnia on pole, followed by Possessin. On the second row we have Pedrao and Jensen, with the top 4 covered by just over 1/10. Then we have Cinetic in P5, both Red Bulls of McLeod and Stan in P6 and P7, with Bobo in P8, with Lost Souls and Rossi on the 5th row completing the top 10, with Chabi in P11, all 11 cars within a half a second. Perevol P12, Imbrurias, who retired on track, might have cost Jensen a shot at pole in P13, and Wikra and Chabi 14th and 15th. As it's all looking sunny at the moment at the start of this race, as we wait for the cars to load on to the grid and start the formation lap. Expecting to see most people do a one stop, going from the softs to either the hards or maybe even the mediums, depending on how confident they are on their tire wear and tire management. So yeah, of course, safety cars, virtual safety cars can also play quite a big role in the decision making of the drivers. As the whole grid rolls away, let's see what tires our drivers have gone for. Of course, the top 10 all have to start on the soft tires. Behind them, Chabi and Brudias have opted for the softs, with Perevol and Wikra, as well as Chabi opting for the mediums. When we look at the battle in the Constructors' Championship, that is also led by Ferrari, with the team holding a 25-point lead over Alfa Romeo. And with Jensen the only Ferrari car running today, they might have an opportunity to capitalize on that, but both Alfas are outside of the top 10 at the moment, so not looking too good. And as you saw on your screen just a moment ago, predicted pit stop strategies, either soft hard or medium hard. Might see some people going for the more aggressive strategy, as Chabi has gone very slow there on the run down to 130R. I don't know what the reason for that was, but cars rolling towards the grid now as we prepare for 27 laps around Suzuka. As Chabi is the last car to line up on the grid. It's time for round 10 of this 11 race season here in Euro Division 2. As we go to 5 red lights. It's lights out and away we go. It's a good start from our pole sitter, a bad one from Pedrao, as Jensen is ready alongside him. And the Ferrari moves up into P3. Omnia holds the lead from Possession further down the field. Stan and Bobo going side by side, and Chabi tries to overtake Lost Souls, but through this essence there's only really one line, as Perevol and Chabi are going side by side. So Chabi has got quite a decent start past two cars, as all drivers have negotiated the first sector without problems, and we still have all 15 cars in competition. As Lost Souls and Chabi are still going at it, now side by side at the exit of the hairpin. Ooh, Chabi gets pushed a bit onto the grass, has the inside for the spoon curve though. They both run very wide, but Lost Souls actually keeps it around the outside, goes off track actually, and this battle is still going. Another bit of contact. Let's keep it clean, guys. And as Rossi is trying to look for any gaps, as Lost Souls does manage to get in front, and Chabi tries to go around the outside, and there was no space for the McLaren to go to. As Racing Omnia ends the first lap still in the lead. Oh, that's a visual glitch. I thought someone had overtaken Racing, but as you can clearly see, Snedic still in P5. So Jensen making a place at the start, getting past Pedrao. McLeod right on the back of Senetic, who is showing P1 at the moment, but he is P5, as that's rectified right now. Some new pit stop strategies provided now, actually showing a possible 2-stop. I don't suspect we'll see anyone try and do the 2-stop, as the tire wear isn't that high around Japan. As all drivers will try to find a rhythm now. Rikra, of course, as we know, is third in the championship, and despite only being 52 points behind Jensen, which, if you think logically, 2 times 26 would be 52 points and would put him equal on points with Jensen, but as I said before, same as with McLeod, Rickra's only won one race this season compared to Jensen's 4. Even if he wins the last 2 races, he won't be overtaking Jensen due to the Ferrari man having more wins to his name. So the only man that can theoretically stop Jensen is the man in P6, McLeod. But as it looks like right now, doesn't look like McLeod will be going for that win at this moment in time. Has had a bit of bad luck in the last couple of races. Bounced back in Canada with a second place finish, but before that in Belgium and Japan lost the chance to really fight for the title. Of course, he is also a season 1 champion. Quite a lot of champions on this grid today, with Racing Omnia, Senetic, McLeod, 3 division or season 1 champions, and a 4th one will be added to that list very soon. So yeah, as you'd expect, on lap 3, as DRS is enabled, we'll see the formation of a DRS train. As Chabi is once again really close to Lost Souls through 130R, and now sends one down the inside. Overshoots his braking point, and now Lost Souls makes contact with him after just turning in normally as if Chabi wasn't there anymore. But these two already fighting quite hard in the opening stages of this race over P9. And that dive bomb from Chabi has cost Lost Souls a bit of time. Now 1.1 seconds behind Stan in front, so that would mean at the moment he wouldn't get DRS on the start-finish straight. Of course, only one DRS zone on this track, on that start-finish straight, so that once again adds to the difficulty to overtake here. Lost Souls is now trying to get back into that 1 second gap. Possession is quite close to Racing Nomia, and he has got quite a bit of ERS, as Mercedes driver is using quite a bit of his energy. Let's not go on board with Jensen. I think it's always just one car in the session that has this like gear glitch, that it's always sounds revved out, but yeah, I don't know why. Of course, this is not how Jensen drives. And there's a yellow flag in sector 1, I think that's for Wikra. As he's still going, I think he just maybe spun or half spun, and his day isn't getting any better. The man in P3 in the championship won the opening race at Bahrain. Since then hasn't really been able to put in the performances he wants. Picked up 2 other podiums this season, but yeah, we expected him maybe to fight for the title with Jensen, as it was really close halfway through, but then Jensen just went on a run, picked up multiple wins, and is really proven to be the best man in this division. As Possession is even closer to Racing Nomia right now. He's down to his last 40% of ERS. Possession just sticking behind the Mercedes for now, not feeling any reason to attempt the overtake. But Bobo is getting a move on McLeod. Didn't actually notice the Haas driver being so close to the Red Bull, with McLeod dropping down the field. And Bobo making up some places. Now into P6 after starting P8. So yeah, Stan is losing a bit of touch with his teammate. He's now got Los Sols right behind him once again. And that train extends all the way down to Shabi, with Imbrudia struggling a bit for pace. Being new to this division can be quite scary, of course, as there are so many quick drivers here, and being just a couple of tenths off the pace can put you right down the field. As Racing has opened up a bit of a gap to Possession, and that might invite Jensen actually to attempt an overtake. As Bobo now actually puts in the fastest lap of the race, and he's closing in on Cinetic. But with the nature of turn 1, it's really difficult to really send one down the inside. You really have to be already alongside before turning in to even attempt an overtake. And there's a yellow flag in sector 1, and that's for McLeod. McLeod has spun round. And that must have been on his own, as he drops all the way down to last place. And if there was any hope of him taking that extremely little chance that he might be able to take the title fight another round, that hope is now completely gone, as he's down to last place. And nearly loses it again through Degner 1. Of course, his tires now being completely overheated by that spin. So that gives Bobo the freedom from behind, no pressure behind him anymore, as Stan is a further 3 seconds back. So Bobo can now try to attack Cinetic once again. As Possession has closed the gap back up to Racing Nomia again. As Bobo is the first man to pit, and Petter Vol makes a move on Rossi for P8 actually now, as Wikra, I think, No, Stan is in as well. Stan switching to the hard tires, and Bobo interestingly going for the medium tires. So quite an early stop at the end of lap 7, and he already goes on to the medium tires. So I don't know if we'll be able to make those tires last to the end, as McLeod has also boxed after that spin. His tires were completely done, and he and his teammate both went on to the hard tires. So let's see what the front pack will do now. Will they react to Bobo and Stan, or will they just try to extend this stint on the soft tires to have a bit more tire life at the end of the race? As racing is really burning through his ERS, and we have a yellow flag for Xabi, that is. He spun in the middle of Spoon Curve actually. Probably carried a bit too much speed into that corner, and he's got it going again, but he'll be having some very hot tires as well, just as McLeod. So let's see if he boxes. As Possession actually makes a move for the lead. Just got... Oh, and he's very slow on the exit of turn 2. Racing Omnia nearly runs to the back of the AlphaTauri, but Possession has had enough of sitting behind Racing, and now he'll use that ERS he saved to try and pull away and create a 1 second gap. In the meantime, more drivers into the pits. We have Lost Souls and Stan. Stan will come out in front of the Renault, so the overcut for Lost Souls hasn't worked out. Lost Souls also on the medium tires, with Xabi actually spinning. Oh, just coming out of the pits on cold tires. Spins on the entry to turn 2 and lost the place to Imbrudias. He was looking reasonably well, of course, battled quite hard with Lost Souls in the opening laps of this race, but now he's lost about 10 seconds to that Lost Souls, who's right on the back of Standstill, as Bobo is closing in on Xabi, who hasn't made a pit stop after his spin. Let's see what the top guys do as Possession continues on. But Racing and Jensen will make their first and presumably only pit stop of the race, as Pedrao and Cinetic are also in. And once again we see split strategies, with Racing going for the mediums, but Jensen, who has actually lost the place to Pedrao in the pits, and he will lose another place. Jensen has lost 2 places in the space of 1 straight, as he's been jumped in the pits by both Cinetic and Pedrao. Well, he will probably has been hauled in his pit box when Racing got released, so that's why he most likely has lost these 2 positions. Of course, no reason to panic, as Cinetic actually lets the Ferrari driver past. Don't know if that was on purpose, if he felt bad that he got that place in the pit lane. As Lost Souls has actually put in quite a good stint here, has overtaken Stan. We missed the overtake, but he's now only just over 1 second behind Cinetic, so looking really good. But the big thing here, and I just noticed this now, is that Bobo actually is ahead of Racing and all of these guys, so his undercut has worked beautifully. As Possession is into the pits now, and he picks up a 5 second time penalty for speeding. Oh, that's really unfortunate. That will hurt him quite a bit, as he will switch onto the medium tires. Rossi also into the pits, last of the soft tire runners to make a pit stop. That will leave the 2 AlphaTauris, or the 2 Alfa Romeos at the front of the field. So let's see where Bobo is, and there he goes. Bobo is into the net lead of the race. What a masterclass of a strategy from IGL Bobo, who has gone from starting P8 to working his way up into P6 before the pit stops, and then going early onto those medium tires and just pushing really hard to get track position, and it's working beautifully, as he is in a net P1 once both Alfa Romeos will make their pit stop. But Possession is already on his heels, of course. All those drivers behind him on fresher tires. So on the road it's a battle for P3, but it will be a battle for the eventual lead, with Shabby also still having to make his pit stop. So that means once everyone has made their pit stop, it will be Bobo from Possession with Racing down to P3, Pedrao in P4, then Jensen P5 ahead of Senetic. In P6 then Los Sols and Stan, with Rossi in P8, and of course Xabi and McLeod lost time. McLeod just before he made his first pit stop, and Xabi right after he made that switch to the hard tires and wants to go, and that's a big crash, and that's a safety car as Xabi loses it on the exit of Spoon, and massive hit, shunts into the barriers, and that's his race over. And Xabi immediately capitalizes on this safety car, switches to the soft tires interestingly, as McLeod is also in. He'll be switching to the medium tires, it would seem. Really nasty impact for Xabi, who already would have had a difficult time recovering after that half spin in turn 2, but he's the first man to retire, and unlucky for both Alfa Romeos, as they were just past the pit entry when this safety car got called out. So yeah, the field will bunch up. Let's see if Petter and Wickra actually have big enough of a gap to still make their pit stop and come out in amongst the pack. As it will be interesting to see what tires they go on. So of course they can go onto another set of mediums, as you will have to use at least 2 different compounds during the race. So let's see what our race leader will do. And he dives into the pits. So let's see if his teammate follows him in. Yes, he does. So Bobo will take the on-track lead, with Petter switching as Xabi did to a set of soft tires. And his teammate opts for the more safer option, and he goes onto a set of hard tires, as Petter actually rejoins in P8. So this safety car has come at a perfect time for Petterville, who qualified down in P12, I think. Yes, started 12th, did a long first stint on the mediums, and now capitalized on this safety car, and he's in P8 on fresh softs. So it will be very interesting to see what he can do, and if he can make these tires last to the end of the race. Still 14 laps to go, of course. That's quite some way to go, even with a couple of laps under the safety car. So the safety car will help Bobo, of course. Having made that early pit stop, he would have had some difficulties at the end of the race with tire wear, but right now he can just save his tires a bit, and he might be able to make it to the end of the race. And this would be a very spectacular victory if he can pull it off. As I think the safety car will stay out for one more lap, as McLeod hasn't fully caught up to the back of the field, and yeah, so we'll just have one more lap on the safety car conditions. Oh no, it is in this lap. Really late call from race control, but the safety car will be in at the end of this lap. McLeod has reached the end of the queue, and suddenly we're back racing once again, and it's a great restart from Possession, who's pulling alongside, and he sweeps around the outside and into the lead of the race. Perfect restart for the AlphaTauri, but he of course still has that 5-second time penalty from speeding in the pit lane. Doesn't look like anyone else has made up any position at the restart. So Pervo also still in P8 on his soft tires. He probably would have wanted to have the safety car out for one more lap, as that would have meant he would have had less laps to concern about his soft tires wearing off. But anyway, he'll have to deal with that at the end of the race, as he is nearly running into the back of Lost Souls there through Spoon Curve, using a lot of ERS. As Rossi makes a move on Stan. Rossi on to level medium tires. Stan is coming back at him. Same time, Petterville tries to go around the outside of Lost Souls, who goes a bit wide in turn 2 and actually backs out of that. And Petterville moves up into P7. Long-term thinking by Lost Souls, who wasn't going to risk his car going side by side through there. And he knew Petterville would pass him eventually with the Alfa Romeo on the softer compound. Oh, and there's a bit of contact, I think. There's been a bit of contact between Shabby and Brudias, as Brudias went swerving across the grass, and he retired on track once again, as he did in qualifying. I hope this doesn't bring out the safety car, as his AR parks up at the exit of the hairpin. And I think we're still okay, but stewards will have to have a word with the Renault driver, as he has violated the rules twice by retiring on track. As Possession still leads, but he isn't able to break away from Bobo, with the whole top 11 now within the arrest of each other. And McLeod still down and out of the points. Possession actually pushing really hard through this first sector. The gap has grown on to 9.5 tenths. And he's really trying to break away from Bobo, hoping that if he does so, cars behind will start to attack the Haas driver, and that will give Possession the breathing space he needs and the opportunity he needs to pull out a bigger gap than he has right now. So we get a lovely camera shot here. But Bobo is holding on through this middle sector, keeping the gap at around 8 to 9 tenths. As we see some drivers losing a bit of touch with the cars in front now, with stand dropping out of the arrest from Rossi. And Xabi is all over the back of Wickra actually. Xabi, of course, another driver who went for softs at his pit stop under the safety car. As Xabi picks up a 3-second time penalty for track extending. I don't think Racing Omnia has the arrest anymore, and no, he doesn't. Spadafore actually puts in the fastest lap of the race, trying to hunt down Cinetic. As Rossi gets past Lost Souls, who had also lost touch with Petter, and Xabi at the exact same place tries to make a move on Wickra, but Wickra fights back. He can't keep it side by side through the rest of these S's. McLeod now trying to follow Xabi through. As Wickra is really struggling for pace around here. Oh, and that's so unfortunate. And McLeod's race goes from bad to worse as Wickra has a snap of oversteer on the exit of the last corner in sector 1. And McLeod just runs into the back of him, and he lost a bit of front wing on the left hand side. So once again another setback for the Red Bull driver, who's really been incredibly unlucky today with that spin in sector 1, and now he picked up some front wing damage through no fault of his own, of course. And Racing is really struggling down to his last 5% of ERS, and Pedrao is looking for a move. Of course, Racing Omnia on those hard tires compared to almost everyone around him on the mediums. And I think this will be a fairly easy move for Pedrao, as McLeod actually, he retired at the last corner, I think, and not in the pits. And there's a virtual safety car. And what's happened to Racing? He doesn't have any front wing damage, but he suddenly dropped down all the way to P10 after being overtaken by Pedrao, and there's a virtual safety car because of that retirement from McLeod. As the virtual safety car is gone again. So yeah, I actually missed what happened to McLeod with Racing, but he's really and he does have some front wing damage now. Maybe I just didn't see it earlier. So another driver who has been so unlucky throughout this entire season, and he showed his pace in qualifying, but just somebody in the chat actually points out that Racing tried to fight back into turn 2 after being overtaken by Pedrao, and that's why he lost all those positions. So that's really, yeah, just unlucky, I think. I don't know if there's anyone to blame, as Bobo actually picks up a 3-second time penalty. That could be quite crucial in the outcome of this race. He is still within 1 second of possession. and he has got quite a bit of a gap to Pedrao in P3 now that racing is gone there. Jensen has been really quiet but really consistent once again. Started P4, jumped to P3 actually, then lost some places during the pit stop, but now he's back up into the podium positions. Sweeps past Pedrao into turn 1, and he is a man on a mission. And with McLeod out of the race, we can actually say that he will be champion once he crosses the line, no matter where he finishes, but he'll want to do it in style. And he is up into P3 and will want to close up that gap to Bobo to take P1 and maybe actually P1, P2 and actually P1. Of course, Possession carries that 5-second time penalty. So right now the gap is around 4 seconds to the race leader. So he just needs a couple of tenths more to get into that 3-second gap behind Bobo, and Jensen will actually win the race. That's amazing. What a way that would be to crown yourself a champion by winning your 5th race of the season in such a short season. You know, 1 or 2 wins might actually be enough to secure a title if you're just consistent enough, but if you can be consistent and win multiple races throughout the season, then you fully deserve to be a champion, as he actually puts in the fastest lap of the race as well now. Another extra point for this man who's been on another level this entire season. It's been an absolute privilege to see him race. It's just such pinpoint precision every single lap. Almost never picks up any time penalties as well. Incredibly consistent and fast while doing it. As Senetic is now actually closing up to Pedrao as well, and saying that Pedrao actually picks up a 3-second time penalty. So Senetic might be on for a very good result here, as Pettervol isn't really able to get the maximum out of those soft tires anymore. Already 8 laps on those tires, and Rossi now is closing in on the Alfa Romeo. So of course it was a tricky strategy decision, because he couldn't go onto another set of medium tires, having started the race on those same medium tires. But yeah, it might have been better to actually go into the hard tires, on which he could have pushed a bit more towards the last phase of this race. So gap between Jensen and Bobo stable at around 3.4 seconds, so just not enough for Jensen to actually get in front of Bobo when the checkered flag falls. Of course, Bobo has the benefit of DRS of Possession, so as it stands right now, Bobo would win the race and he would finish ahead of Jensen. So it would be Bobo, Jensen, and then I think Possession, as he does have the gap to Pedrao, who also has a 3-second time penalty, of course. To say a big thank you to everyone who is tuned in. Just 4.5 laps to go before we can crown this man a Euro champion officially. Gap is now down to 3.2 seconds again. This will be really close, as he is really pushing, as you can see, using up all of his ERS. Rossi might be on for a move on Petter for P6. Oh, this is really close. Great respect between these two drivers, and Petter just keeps ahead of the Williams. With Lost Souls lurking behind, but he does have a 3-second time penalty. Stan actually has a 5-second time penalty as well. I think I missed that one. I don't know when he picked that one up, but yeah, not the race Stan would have hoped for. He was really strong last time out in Canada. Finished P5, his best result of the season. He is another driver who has had an incredible amount of bad luck this season. Has been up there at the very front on multiple occasions, but either bad strategy calls or just bad luck in general, with incidents happening involving him. He's just not been able to score the maximum amount of points he would have hoped. He's still in the points at the moment. Jensen now almost within that 3 seconds of Bobo, as we just have 3 more laps to go. And Rossi can't get past Pettervol on this lap, but he does get very close in turn 2. As Senetic actually really close now to the back of Pedrao. Of course he will get that P4 with that time penalty on the McLaren. It's Senetic showing why he is a URL champion, and it's a shame we couldn't see him in action as a full-time driver this season, but yeah, we hope he will be back on F1 2021, which will be released in just under a month's time. As Bobo has now actually lost DRS on Possessin, and that might be a big factor in this race, as you just have 2 more laps to go, and Jensen now might be able to gain a bit of time on the Haas driver. As I said, just 2 more laps to go, and Lost Souls actually is the one overtaking Rossi. Instead of Rossi attempting an overtake on Pettervol, it's now Lost Souls who gets in front of the Williams driver. He does have that 3-second time penalty, of course, but that doesn't stop him from fighting. He's been doing that all race, at the start with Xabi and now with Rossi and Petter. As Senetic seems to have made a bit of a mistake, or just lost some pace, as he is now over a second behind Pedrao again. Jensen now within 3 seconds of Bobo. So this will be the fight that's not really a fight to keep an eye out on as we approach the last lap of the race. Of course Bobo does have slightly older tires, so you would say Jensen might be able to extract a bit more performance. As we enter the final lap of this race around Suzuka, Possessin with that 5-second time penalty is in the lead right now, but will drop to P3. Actually 1.8 seconds. Oh, Possessin also picked up a time penalty, I see now, so that will certainly drop him down to P3 as Lost Souls gets past Petter as well, and he spun. Oh, I don't know if there was contact, but Lost Souls and Pettervol might have come together there, and Petter drops all the way down to P11. Oh, that's a shame. He was doing so well after that. Maybe a bit lucky safety car, of course, which helped him get into this position. But now on the very last lap, he loses all that effort he's put in, and no points for him, as there's a yellow flag in sector 3. That's for racing, who's gone a bit slow. So Possession will cross the line in P1, but he will be demoted to P3. With Jensen on the last lap, closing up to Bobo to cross the line in just a matter of seconds. As Possession crosses the line first, Bobo now, and here is our Ural Division 2 champion. Jensen wins in style, takes his 5th victory of the season, and crowns himself the Ural Division 2 champion. Bobo second, Possession third. Cinetic misses out on the podium by 7/10 in P4, Pedrao P5. Rossi finishes ahead of Los Sols after that penalty for the Renault driver. Stan, after that mistake from Pedder, promoted to P8 with Rigra keeping his point scoring streak up in P9, and Shabby picking up the last point in P10. What a race, what a season for our champion, Jensen. So that's it. Jensen wins it in style, taking his 5th win of the season and the championship with it. Congratulations to him, by far the most consistent driver this season, with Joe Bobo picking up his 2nd podium this season actually. Took a P2 in Italy I think as well, and Possession once again showing good pace, and fortunately picked up some time penalties which demoted him to P3, but still a solid race from him. Here are your final race results. Jensen wins the race in front of Bobo and Possession. Snetic P4, Pedrao P5, Rossi ahead of Los Sols and Stan with Rigra in P9, and Shabby in P10 with Pedderville dropping down to P11. Racing Omnia last of the point score or the finishers, and actually takes the fastest lap away from Jensen on the last lap with a 26.3, so he will pick up an extra point. And McLeod, Rudias and Chabi did not finish the race. Thank you all very much for watching, as we will be back for the final race of the season in 7 days time around Interlagos, where we will cap off an incredibly intense and fantastic season here in Division 2. Thank you all so much for watching, and see you next week. Bye bye.